Joining us now for a closer look at Palin and Bachman, our Republican strategist Margaret Hoover and John Avlon, senior political columnist for the Daily Beast. Good morning to the both of you.
Good morning.
Hey, so let's talk about this film, The Undefeated. That would lead me to believe she's never lost anything. And if we go back to 2008, I mean, she didn't win even as the vice presidential element of the ticket there. So
yeah,
just the title alone, I mean, it's like kind of winning the Super Bowl, but as the assistant coach, and you say you lost it. Look, where do you get the title from?
You've got to channel strength. You've got to channel victory. And Sarah Palin certainly has an uphill climb, but it's not impossible for her. This video, this movie premiere, is going to be a splash for her in Iowa. But what Iowa voters really need to see is somebody who's going to go to Iowa, move to Iowa, pound the pavement, go to the barbecues in the backyards, go to the state fair, talk to them in their living rooms. Iowa voters won't vote for you if they haven't met you at least 3 times. Yeah. So they really need to get to know Sarah Palin, and it's not out of the question that she could do that. But she's really got to show she's committed.
Yeah. John, what do you think about this glossy
But this is a movie premiere. I mean, let's be clear. This is a movie premiere, not a presidential event.
Yeah.
She hasn't done any of the hard work it takes to seriously run for president, put together an organization, start raising money. And people notice that. I mean, if you want to figure out what's really going on in a presidential race, follow the money. Yeah. And the reality is she has not allocated any of her cash. She's building her personal brand, but she hasn't done any of the hard work to run for president.
Margaret, isn't keeping the mystery alive, though, in some respects, what keeps the attention on this situation in the first place?
Of course it does. And in many ways, this fills a gap in the Republican field. I mean, I think there's still a wanting from Republican voters, somebody who has star power and cachet that people will flock to. I think Michelle Bachman's filled a little bit of that, but there is still intrigue with Sarah Palin. She's got to get over the hump, though. A majority of Republican primary voters say that they're not sure if they would vote for her for president.
What is it about this woman, though? Because she draws these crowds. Yet you see in Jan's report there are people that love her, just don't want to see her as president. And she's got the negatives are so high. How do you get past that with such a polarizing figure when people basically they've got their impressions of Sarah Palin?
It's incredibly difficult because she is one of the most polarizing figures in American politics. And this is one of the problems in our politics because the parties are polarized. People who do well in primaries can be kryptonite in the general electorate to independents and centrists. And I think both Sarah Palin and Michelle Bachman fall into that camp. They overlap not because they're Republican women running for president, but because they represent the same conservative, populist, evangelical base.
Yep. Let's take a listen because Michelle Bachman was on earlier this morning, and this is what she had to say.
The real problem, Rebecca, is overspending by the federal government, and it doesn't seem like the politicians in Washington get it. People are telling me overwhelmingly they don't want to see the country go deeper in debt.
So this is a common thread, Margaret, that we're hearing from a number of new politicians who are putting themselves in the field. They're basically, we are the other option. We are not the standard status quo that you've grown accustomed to.
Well, that is a winning argument. With unemployment at 9.1%, with all Republicans setting themselves up as an alternative to Obama's economic policies, the country is struggling. Gas prices are high. People are trying to balance their paychecks and checkbooks, and they think the federal government should have to balance theirs too. This is what the Tea Party was originally about, and all of the candidates in the Republican field are galvanizing that base of supporters because they are all hurting and they feel like economic policies of the Obama administration have not worked.
Yeah, but when Michelle Bachman presents herself as a candidate that can appeal to disaffected Democrats and independents as well as Republicans, it just doesn't fly. Yeah. I mean, there's a context in a candidacy, and she sounds very responsible now, and she's putting forward an economic message that can appeal broadly, but you got to look at her record of statements. This is somebody who plays politics by talk radio rules, in which there is no such thing as too extreme. This is somebody who introduced herself to the American people asking whether President Obama is anti-American, talking about bringing tyranny to the United States. These are not responsible statements.
And yet she's neck and neck with Mitt Romney in Iowa.
But keep in mind that Mitt Romney's not even playing in Iowa. And the fact that Michelle Bachman can do very well in an Iowa caucus should have Republicans really aware of what the forces they've been playing with.
Can either one, let's say Sarah Palin does say, I will run for president. You've got these two women there. Can either one beat President Obama?
Let me go no.
Look, I think it's an uphill climb because
do they
if
even
you
have
look
a
at
chance?
independent voters,
sure they have a chance.
Look, every Republican knows that you've got to win Republicans, but you've got to get independents too. And Republicans and the conservative base are also looking, can they beat Obama? That's what we're really looking for. We're not looking for somebody who's just playing to the base. We're looking for someone who can appeal broadly in the general election.
Will she say, I will run for president, do you think? Or do the two of them steal each other's votes?
They overlap considerably. It'd be fascinating to see if she did get in where their votes would give and get. But the reality is, look, winning a nomination is one thing. Winning a general election position is entirely another. As Margaret said, you got to win independents and centrists. And if your whole career has been throwing bombs to appeal to the base, you've alienated the very people you need to win the White House.
But they don't overlap because they're women, and that's one
right.
thing. We want more women in politics, and we want to encourage women to get in politics. Women are desperately underrepresented in the federal government, and so we want to encourage more.
They're both, creating all the buzz, though, right now.
That's right.
That you cannot deny.
It's really re-energized the Republican women's base.
That you can.
Thanks, guys.
And you still can lose something and say, I'm undefeated.
You're undefeated.
Which is a breakthrough right there. Well, John Avlon, thank you very much.
Thank
Margaret
you.
Hoover, good to see them both.